Hi, I'm Dr. Dan Ratner. Today I'm joined once again by Misa for the second of our mind-body consultation sessions. If you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below and we'll get back to you personally. And finally, you can reserve your place in one of my seminars, join my monthly membership group, or purchase any of my mind-body guides, also known as the PDFs, at www.crushingdoubt.org. Now, without further ado, here's my session with Misa. Misa, welcome back. It's always a pleasure, and as I always say in these sessions, I want to thank you because it takes some vulnerability to be here. But let's remember, this is really all about you. This is a discussion about how you're doing and a conversation about how you can be doing as we go forward. So I want to first check in about how that emotions column session sat with you, where you're at with things, how that's been.
Yeah, I think that was really good, actually. It definitely identified a couple of things for me, and it gave me I think, a process, like a procedure for what to do and or how to go through these. I think last time, very specifically during the session, it was really obvious how concise or how in a very organized way we're able to tackle all these emotions that I was going through, or like how to kind of like just navigate. But through the session, I got really emotional and I got really triggered and I got like in my trauma. And the second half or later, like after 40 minutes or so, I feel like even though I was able to see the process really clearly, it became really hard at that moment to grasp and to contain it I felt like I wasn't going to be able to walk away with it. Mm-hmm. It wasn't going to be useful for me. And however, during the week, I went through a couple of experiences that all of a sudden I saw myself actually being able to utilize the same technique that you were using, and how you were able to just kind of simplify everything and zero in on the actual, like what the actual feelings were, and like kind of clarify everything. And it actually worked for me. So I was really impressed, and I was really, I'm just really excited because it's kind of the first time that I've managed to walk through something like this, and to be able to, even though I go through the same feelings of getting into this traumatic state, I was still able to navigate and keep moving forward. So I'm very hopeful about this.
That's a very exciting leap forward. And really it is just the beginning, because the way the system works is you build up a skill and you build up experience and you build up confidence, and it just grows and grows and grows. And it becomes, I like the words you're using, because it really does become simpler. Mm-hmm. I'm the first to admit that I would say my system is more complicated in its overall moving parts than the average program that's out there. But the advantage of it is if you can stick through that and start to understand how these seemingly complicated parts actually can simplify and become a system that simplifies more and more, you get a lot out of it. And I'm so pleased you are. That's fantastic. Huge breakthrough.
Thank you. I think that like the nature of where we're at, like the reason why you get a lot of people that have tried a bunch of things and hasn't worked is maybe because some of these things are like multi-layered, and they maybe are a little bit more complex. So it makes sense that the system needs to kind of accommodate all of those things. So it kind of needs to be a little bit complicated just because of the nature of where we're coming from. So
I think that's right. I think the system has to incorporate the complications, but then offer solutions that simplify afterwards. Yeah. And actually that's a great lead into today, because we're going to deal with the doubt column. And the thing that I often say, or out of many things that I say, is that it's not about not having doubt right from the start. No, we let in the complications first. We let in all the doubt. We bring it all in, and we don't panic about it. We just say, we're going to bring it all in. And then we're going to start to look at, now how do we simplify once we've brought in all the complications? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. Same process in each column, actually. This is an interesting way of thinking about it, and one that I'll have to probably do a separate podcast on about this. But let's jump in with that. If you're okay switching to the doubt column and giving you some of the tools for that, let's do that. So first I'm going to bring in some of the more complicated aspects, and then we're going to start to articulate doubts, and then we're going to start to answer them. We're going to start to simplify, but that's for a little bit for later. So I know you know some about this because you've taken the seminar. You're in the membership groups right now, so we're going through your moment-to-moment experience. You're pretty, spot on about this, but just like last time, to really dig in on it, whether it's you doing the work yourself or if we do the work in the membership group or doing the work here, we really have to get to some of the specifics of what's happening. So in the doubt column, one of the things that I say is that there are 3 levels of doubt. Just a reminder, because we talked about this in the seminar, we talk about it in the membership group sometimes. The first level of doubt is, are the symptoms that I'm having a mind-body experience, or are they something what I would call structural? And what I mean by that, I originated this in relation to bodily structural issues like torn cartilage or torn rotator cuff or herniated disc, all these things that have now been debunked in the major medical journals, the New England Journal of Medicine, JAMA, all the best journals. They've said this stuff is not the cause of these things. So there are structural issues in that way. But I want to put something else in your mind while we do this, and this might be somewhat specific to you or certain people out there. There's also the symptoms of anxiety and depression. Those are not physical symptoms so much, but we can experience them physically. We can feel them. And so I also want you to think about the fact that we're going to need to do some work against doubt about the fact that depression and anxiety are also not structural. Now, what I mean by that is they're not permanent. They are moment to moment. Maybe they have always been there in certain ways because you've been having very similar moments. But as we start to challenge doubts, that can open up. Okay, so there's the first level of doubt, which is simply, is it mind-body or not? Then there's the second level of doubt, which is, okay, I believe it's mind-body, but can this particular type of issue be cured, or can it be cured all the way, or can it only be partially helped? There's the degree to which it can be resolved, even if you believe it's mind-body. Following me so far? Okay. The third level of doubt is, I believe it's mind-body. I believe that all of these symptoms could be cured, but I'm not sure I can do it. I know that one resonates with you, so we'll jump back to that in a second. And that often is the one that requires the most long-term doubt work. Usually I do work with people. I can bang out level 1 doubt pretty easily. The seminars do that almost all by themselves. Usually by the time people are done with the seminars, they're like, yeah, I don't have any doubts that this is mind-body. Maybe it takes a little bit extra time. The second one sometimes can linger on a little bit where people are like, I know this is mind-body, but can I cure it all the way? Not because of me, but just in general. They might say, well, I believe that you can cure back pain because Sarno says so, but can you cure migraines? Or can you cure anxiety? There'd be doubts about specific symptoms. The third level of doubt is about you. Do you feel like there's something in you that would hold you back? So now that I've laid that out, the next thing to do is articulate some of these doubts. And I think it seems like it's been helpful for people. In recent sessions, I've noticed that it's helpful for people if I take the notes, because then you're free to just kind of think. And I'm it's fine. I can totally multitask that way. So what I'm going to do is we're going to articulate doubts. And as we go, then we're going to get these laid out. I'm going to help you see how to articulate it. This is the the how to it all. So we're going to go through the different levels. Do you feel you have level 1 doubt still? Let's start there.
No, I don't think that's very heavy for me. I don't think it ever really was.
Okay. So I'm going to make a note of that. Level 1 doubt, not heavy. Now, here's a question. Has it gotten even less heavy? Have you gotten more and more certain?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it still creeps in once in a while, but mainly because I haven't had maybe enough thorough checkups with the doctor that to make sure that everything's okay. Like I said, I don't know if I told you this last time, but I did go and get checked and get some blood work done, and everything kind of came normal for the most part. But I feel like the tests maybe weren't as in depth. So that still sometimes creeps in, I guess.
Okay. So what I have down here so far, and I want to make sure this is a fair representation of what you're experiencing. You occasionally have some doubt about whether you've gotten a thorough enough checkup, that maybe there's something lingering in the background. Is that the right idea?
Yeah.
Okay. And this is in relation to the back pain or about other things?
Other things, so the back pain has been consistent, but then there's other symptoms that come along with that. Like I get like shooting pain to my arm. And then I've recently had a whole lot of like chest pain, which is like a new thing. And very specifically, it's shifted to my left side, which is like really worrying me now. And that part, I'm like, I probably should go to a cardiologist. It's I've never gotten checked. I've never gotten my heart checked. So that has evolved in that way, but it has been kind of moving dramatically. Like I go days where I don't have it at all, and then it comes back. so it's very fluctuating.
Yeah. Okay. So within the doubt column structure, when symptoms start to fluctuate, that's because we're winning the battle against doubt. And so far, what I've seen with you is we are winning that battle against doubt. We're winning it quite well. Before last week in the emotions column session, I felt like you were looking for a good enough foothold in the emotions column. I think you were kind of feeling a little bit lost there. We've gotten you anchored in that one now. And so there's going to be a lot of good work happening in that. Within the doubt column, we're already seeing huge signs of success. You have times where you don't have pain at all. That's correct?
Yeah.
Okay. That's big. It's starting to shift around. Now, what that means is, so listen, sometimes I'm trying to articulate doubt, but sometimes I'm just describing what it's doing. So doubt is actually clinging on for dear life. It's in trouble. It's losing the battle. And usually what doubt then does is it shifts to a new symptom, some kind of convincing symptom or one that brings more fear. Mm-hmm. When you have more fear-inducing symptoms, it's a sign of progress, actually. So the idea of you having chest pain, specifically on the left side where your heart is, that's doubt all the way. Now, listen, I encourage you, go to a cardiologist just to be sure, but I can guarantee you this is TMS. I don't want you to take my guarantee and not go to the doctor. Go to the doctor. Get it cleared. And you can bring it back to me what they say if there's some kind of, I don't know, weird diagnosis or something like that. I highly doubt there would be. I think you're going to check out totally fine. But doubt is trying to get you fooled again. And that's exactly what it's going to do. It's always going to try to come in, and it's going to try to come in the most powerful way possible. I recently had some chest pain too. Left side. Much more common for us to have pain on the left side because doubt knows where to strike. It knows what's going to scare us. I mean, pain on my right side, I'll be like, got some indigestion or something. It's much less scary. Shooting pains, meanwhile, they cause more fear. Spasms. Spasms are a thing that comes from fear as well. The scarier the symptom is, the bigger the hold doubt can have on you. So I just want to orient you to that to show you, hey, look, we are making good progress. We'll put that out there and see how that settles in you. But do think about that. Now let's jump back for a second and continue to articulate, are there any other level 1 doubts that you feel like you have?
No, I think that's pretty much, that pretty much covers it, I think.
Okay. So we're going to move on to level 2 doubt now. All right. Now, as a reminder, level 2 doubt means all of this is mind-body for the most part. You'll get your chest, your heart checked out by a cardiologist just to make sure. And I want to be clear. I'm not saying that because I think there's something wrong. I don't. But, we just err on the side of caution because I'm not a medical doctor, and this allows us to work on the mind-body work even better. Sometimes it just clears that level 1 doubt right out. But level 2 doubt is, okay, you have varying symptoms. Is there any one symptom or a couple symptoms that you feel, maybe I can't get this all the way better? Or maybe there'd be some kind of limitation?
No, I definitely believe, I think I've always believed that this is going to go away. Like
Okay.
I've like I said before, I've lived most of my life without pain. I think I can go back to that. I just have been struggling to do it, but yeah. So I definitely believe that it can go away completely.
Okay. So one of the things that's gotten you there is that you've lived your life, most of your life without pain. So you have every reason to believe you're going to get back to that. Is there anything else that's helping you with it? Whether in the work with me or not?
Yeah, I think mainly having these conversations and learning that others go through this and have been able to get out of this. Like I've been reading a whole lot about this kind of thing, and so I think like seeing those examples has also put me at ease. I also have had experience with my wife that has struggled with chronic pain, and I think that, to be honest, that's kind of created doubt in me, because I see that she has struggled with this her whole life and has never really been able to get out of that situation. So that's one of the things that has like caused me to think like, well, maybe this doesn't. So that is the only thing that I have, but deep inside, I feel like I believe it's possible.
Okay, now you were saying maybe this doesn't, and then you trailed off there for a sec. You were headed towards something. The reason I'm returning back to that is this is a chance for us to articulate the doubt. So your wife has had chronic pain. It causes doubt. I totally understand why it would. And then you said maybe this doesn't. What is that? Let's get it into words.
Was I going to say maybe this doesn't get resolved? Maybe that's the way people like. Maybe that's the way some people like. It's possible to get into a situation where you just can't figure it out. So I feel like that has crept in the more that I see that she hasn't been able to resolve some of the things that she's going through.
Okay, so I'm gonna dig deep into these because we're trying to articulate the doubt. There's not a ton in level 1. You're mostly there, and we know what to do about it. But here you're saying essentially maybe some people can't figure it out. When you voice a doubt like that, I want to get more specific about it. So here's the question. If that were, let's say that were the case, it's not, but let's say it was. Why? What makes it so that some people can or can't?
I think the thing that I've identified is that they're not being exposed to new information, that they're like trying to do it in the way that they believe it's possible, or they just believe that it's not possible. I think that ultimately I feel that they've never seen it happen maybe, and they just are convinced that it doesn't work. And that's what causes them to just never try different things that would give them results. So that's ultimately at the core, I think that's what I believe in. But I think I've been around her long enough that I've maybe become convinced a little bit of her side of it. You know?
But let's see if we can parse this out, because this could be level 2 doubt or it could be level 3 doubt in a sense. Mm-hmm. Level 3 doubt about her, where you're like, I don't know if this person right here is going to be capable of getting to that point. It's an important distinction because it's a totally different problem. I don't want to misrepresent anything, but it sounds like you're saying, no, I believe anybody can get better from this. I truly do. But I do believe there are going to be some people who either aren't going to get exposed to the information, or if they do, are not going to be able to get to a place where they can believe it. Does that feel like an accurate representation of how you feel?
Yeah.
Okay. In that case, and this is interesting, I think you don't have a lot of level 2 doubt either. You have certain moments, you're going to have doubts that pop up when doubt will kind of climb in there and say, I don't know, maybe some people can't do this. But if you look at the base of it and we articulate it, it's very, very focused on level 3 doubt from what I can hear. That really this is about the person involved. I mean, just going through it again, you don't have a lot of doubt about the whole idea of a mind-body system and how it can work. It feels very clear to you. You've gotten direct results. The level 1 doubt is fading. Whatever doubt you may have had. Your level 2 doubt, I would say, isn't super strong either, but there's two areas I want to check before we move on to level 3 doubt. We're talking about physical pain. It sounds to me very clearly like you feel like as long as the person gets the information and they can get to a place where they can believe, they're going to be fine, which of course I totally agree with. Do you believe that is true with anxiety and depression, not just chronic pain?
Yeah, no, I definitely, I think that it's it's like anything that the mind can control, which I feel controls everything.
Yeah.
It can do it one direction or the other. It can like take it down, or it can build it up and heal it.
That's completely correct. No argument for me. Yeah, and you're doing beautifully with this. So let me say this to you this way then. Your doubt column is actually very strong right now in levels 1 and 2, for sure. Doubt doesn't have a lot of room to play there. Does that feel right to you? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it certainly seems that way to me.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah.
Well, not only that, the way your symptom life is working, it's working exactly as I'd expect if that were the case. Because your symptoms are lessening. You have times where you don't have any symptoms. And remember, the doubt column is about supposedly chronic symptoms, or what I call consistently acute. If you're having times where you don't have any pain or any symptom, that means that doubt is starting to get very much lowered. Mm-hmm. It has to be really, really consistent to think that doubt is really churning. Mm-hmm. Now, let's explore, though, how it is with level 3 doubt. I do want to note, though, even with anxiety and depression, you have a belief that that can get better, and it can get better fast. At least that's my representation of it. Yeah. As long as we understand it. And I think you even got a dose of that in the emotions column. When we started to hit on those things, when you manage trauma differently, you're seeing it in action, and nothing conquers doubt better than results. We're getting some good results so far, so this is good. Now let's jump in with level 3 doubt. Are there things that you feel about you that would be the limiting factor?
Oh my God, where do I start? Let's go to the emotions column, and there's a whole list of things.
Yep. Well, let's get it articulated, though. Even though you know it and I know it in a lot of ways, and even the viewers may know it from seeing the last session, let's get it articulated. What in the emotions column makes you doubt you could get better?
Well, I think that ultimately, like you were saying, or like I was just expressing, and I was expressing it that way, I think, because I've heard you articulate it before. It's like growing up in a way where you didn't have access to tools, would, in a very like deep way, make you believe certain things. And I think that I have seen enough to understand that that is not the case for everyone. Some people grew up with the right tools and they developed them, and they had supporting parents and family and community around them, and they just developed these tools and they're able to use them in their lives. Some of us grew up in a completely different environment where we were made to believe that these things were out of our reach, and like, not that they're not available. They're available, except that introduced at the right time in your upbringing, then you can develop it and actually utilize that tool. But if, like, right now, I feel like I am scratching at the surface of what these tools are, and I'm seeing results, but I'm seeing that a lot of this stuff it's like cumulative, like it gathered over a long period of time, and it built into this status quo that I happen to be in now. How long is it going to take me to undo some of the things that some of the like really deep down beliefs that I have about myself, about like my limiting beliefs?
Okay.
So I think that's where I see that. Is there a difference between me and how quickly, or how, when I can heal from some of this trauma?
Yep. Okay. So I'm gonna read 3 doubts that I heard essentially articulated there. You basically said them. I'm putting them in particular words that may be helpful, but one is, I grew up without tools, so I may have deeply entrenched beliefs that will hold me back. Mm-hmm. Right? Another is, am I too late in getting this information? I don't know. You didn't say it directly, but I did
Yeah.
hear it in the background.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Okay. Then another. Will it take a really long time to undo these beliefs?
Yeah.
These are the places where doubt is going to pick on you, because this is where it can. It always goes to the worries. So I'm going to help you combat these doubts, but first we're just getting them articulated.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else in what I said? Did that spur another idea about doubt, or can you speak to the emotion of recognizing this?
I think that's mainly it. The other thing that comes up for me very loudly right now is being in an environment that seems to be against this kind of healing. In other words, I've seen a lot of, it's just like all of the things that I seem to want to head towards because I see them as healing. It's like my family literally looks at that as just plain evil, like especially growing up in a cult, like that. Just, it's looked at something that you just don't do. You don't behave, you don't associate with these kinds of people, or this kind of, you don't ever go to this kind of environment or this kind of event. And to me, I'm like, I'm seeing that, oh, they stayed away from those kinds of things, and those things literally are like healing things. And so I see that. I guess the other thing that comes up is that it's being around this kind of environment that I'm in. I'm going to make some people angry. And I think that makes it really difficult for me to move into that new place.
Okay. I'm going to read what I've got. I'm just taking notes on what you're saying. So now, in addition to the three that I said, I grew up without the tools, and they may be too entrenched in the beliefs. Am I too late to make full gains? Will it take a really long time to undo these beliefs? Now we're going to add, will my environment hold me back, including my family?
Mm-hmm.
Will they hold you back? And just because they're some core part of yourself. Here's another one that I heard in the background. You did not say this, so tell me if it doesn't feel right. Because a lot of times I'm trying out things. I put it out to you, and you'll know if it feels right. But essentially, there's a more broad question you have in level 3 doubt, as far as I can tell. And it is essentially, am I defective in some way? You're not.
Yeah. No, I definitely,
but I think it's there.
I've definitely had that feeling and that thought before. I didn't connect to it today, or I wasn't trying to articulate it, but I think, you totally hit it in the head.
Okay. So, and we might need to get even more specific about that, the ways in which so I'm going to revisit that, the ways in which you feel there might be something wrong with you, which there is not. I can guarantee you there's not. We'll get there. Then there's also, can I rebel at this level for my family's beliefs? Am I capable of doing that? That's another one that I heard.
Yeah.
Tell me if any of these don't sound accurate, do not accept them. This is not, it's all got to feel like it fits with you.
Yeah.
Okay? Then here's another one. Can I withstand the anger that will come my way if I do this?
Yeah. Am I strong enough?
Right. So I'm going to put that because I like the way you phrased it better. Am I strong enough? Because that's a way of articulating the doubt that connects to the emotion of things. That's where we hit on the best solutions, especially about level 3 doubt. It's a very emotional topic. It's about us, who we are. Okay, now let's jump back to that idea of defectiveness or something being wrong with you. What kinds of things do you think are wrong with you at your worst moments? I know you don't always think these things, but where does doubt climb in?
I think ultimately it's just the just having to think about that forces me to clarify that the only thing that's wrong is the ideas that I picked up along the way. It's not really anything wrong with the person that I am. It's more so the things that I picked up really early. And I think that I've associated myself as those things. And So ultimately, the biggest thing that I see is self-abuse. Like I keep beating myself up for all of the things that I feel I let myself down for.
Okay. Wow. Very powerful. So I want to say back to you two things about that, Misa. One, maybe without fully realizing it, you just came up with a doubt column action step that you just naturally took, which was recognizing in response to the doubt, am I defective in some way? The thing you can say in the self-talk is no. It's actually just the ideas I picked up along the way. It's just a bunch of bad ideas. It is not a reflection of me. And that's actually true. You got screwed with some bad ideas.
Yeah.
But there's very good news. There's nothing wrong with you.
So I think that the trouble with accepting this has been like, I think I mentioned to you, but like a few years ago, I tried having a conversation with my father about some of these ideas. And at that point, still, he was trying, I mean, he essentially told me that I was flawed because I wasn't accepting, the direction that he would have liked my life to head towards, which is to be a part of this cult, essentially, and that without him, without this organization, that I wouldn't ever find genuine happiness or fulfillment. So I think that's been the difficulty in me, like, I have to reject all of those things and essentially be like, yeah, you're wrong about this. And I think that's been a really difficult thing to face.
I'm curious about something, just to try to get this articulated. Do you feel like then to accept that you just were given wrong ideas, to accept that, does it mean losing your father in some way? I don't know if it's him specifically or losing your family or...
Well, it already kind of meant that, like, this specific organization is very, like, it's very tight knit in the sense that they pretty much vanish people for not being a part of the thing. So like, we really lose our families all together when we leave.
Okay, listen, that is very hard. I mean, I see what you're up against, but what I want to distinguish, and this is really important when we get to action steps about this. Level 3 doubt is about the doubts we have that there's something wrong with us.
Right.
So I think we can distinguish between the two. What you just said to me is a power column item. I'm not saying that's bad to have said, but what I mean by that is the power column has a part of it where we look to, are we in power with ourselves, with others, and with our symptoms? Well, you're not in power with these others in that way. And it would be very hard to be so because you're really up against it. You either accept what they say or you lose them. I think I have that right. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
So this is very scary. But I just want to point out, I don't think you actually have doubts about you there. I think you're just scared. That makes perfect sense. You'd be scared. You might even have hugely mixed feelings about it. But I just want to show you carry a lot of strength in you that you don't often recognize, and part of it is I think you don't have a ton of doubt. I think you're scared what to do about what you know.
Wow.
Tell me what you're thinking and feeling there.
Thank you for articulating that. Like, I know that I've thought that before, but I didn't know how to connect it, or I didn't know how to articulate it that way. And
it's a very important distinction because what we're finding essentially is You could get rid of all your level 3 doubt if you instead looked at it as, actually, I don't have doubt so much about me and my goodness. I don't actually have so many doubts about being defective. I'm scared to try that on fully because of the consequences.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. So it's all falling into place somehow. And it's almost like, okay, so then that brings us to column 3.
That's right. That's right. That's where we're headed. I think the primary work that I saw with you, initially we did have to get rid of some, level 1 doubt, and we also had to cut through some level 3 doubt, I think. Actually, probably all 3 levels to some degree. But interestingly, with you, that was the easiest column. This was the easiest column to really just cut through. It was harder to feel like you could have some organization that you could trust, that you could see with clarity in the emotions column.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that was the hardest column for you to, I think, be able to comprehend and just wrap your head around and get an organized sense of. But the hardest one to enact is going to be the power column. That doesn't mean it's going to be super hard to enact or that it's going to be, difficult really in any way. I just think there's a way in which you've had a huge amount of clarity for a long time, but you have had no idea what to do with that clarity. I never want to put words in your mouth, but that's what I understand from things you've told me.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
Okay. So now I want to jump back to articulating a few of these doubts, and then I want to actually go through and answer them, just to give you something to go on and to show you how to do it. So one other thing that I heard you say that I think was something you wonder about you and your ability to get past things is, will I continue to beat myself up? Will I ever be able to stop that? The answer is definitely yes, but it doesn't matter me saying that. That doesn't help you. I have to help you actually believe it and see why that would be and how you're going to do it. But it is a doubt. Does that feel right?
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other doubts that you have about you that would, you think, prevent you from getting better from this stuff? Any qualities you have or anything about your situation?
Well, I think that the biggest thing that comes to mind is, like, in the first session, we identify this like trauma response that becomes highly elevated when I get, triggered in certain ways. I didn't know that before. Like, I'm starting to become aware of that just more recently. And so I think that for a long time, I wouldn't have been able to answer this. But now I'm seeing, like, when you ask me that, I'm like, well, there's this state that I go into that feels like I just went underwater, and things just, like, I struggle to make sense of things, or to be able to articulate things or to understand things in that moment. But, now that I've gotten a glimpse of a process that I can actually use that has worked for me, I don't know, like right now I'm feeling really hopeful, and I'm feeling like, no, anything is possible. I think I can get through this, especially if I'm able to stay, like, mindful, stay aware, because that's what was happening with this trauma response. It's kind of like it's all lost. Like, I can't move forward, and now I see why that was happening.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to voice 2 more doubts that you basically helped to articulate here. And I'm just phrasing them in the way that I would phrase them. We can always change these. I'll be sending you these notes. You change them to your language. That's fine. But one is my trauma response going to be too strong or too disruptive?
Yeah.
Now, the good news is, based on what we found out this week, I don't see why it would be. You're just at the beginning of mastering it, and you're already doing a beautiful job. It's really incredible what you can do. You're a very competent person. And now that competency is being put in areas that really help you. I think for a long time you put your competency in other things that helped other people, which is great. But now a lot of that competency is going towards you now that you have a system or are developing a system. Tell me what's going on for you. How does that?
It's like, it's really difficult to, it's really difficult to hear that. I don't know why. Like, I think because I've never allowed myself to, I've never acknowledged myself, or I don't think I've ever gotten acknowledgement. And I think that's like, it gets me really emotional.
Yeah. Well, I think this is also a lead in towards the power column. You know, recognizing your own competence is scary, actually. Because then there's so much you actually can do. And I say this to people sometimes. To get better from mind-body symptoms is to commit yourself to rebellion. We're not going to live that way anymore. Mm-hmm. We're not going to do that to ourselves. Not anymore. That's all power column work, but that's where we're headed. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting because we're exploring the doubt column, but we've had all kinds of emotional breakthroughs here too. Pretty cool stuff. So what I want to do now is jump back and I want to go through the doubts that we've articulated. And there could be more. You could work on this column and recognize that, oh, you know what, we missed a couple. Or, you also need to recognize doubt is going to come and go. We're moment-to-moment beings. It's going to come in on all three different levels at various points. But as we clear it up, there's going to be less and less of it. So now let's go through what we've articulated so far, and let's give some answers. Let's use, science is usually used primarily in levels 1 and 2 doubt, but logic is used more in levels 2 and 3 doubt. Logic is used throughout. Logic is the most important thing. Has to fit with the science, but logic is the key. So the first doubt I have here is, I grew up without tools, so I may have deeply entrenched beliefs that will make it hard. What science or logic do you think we can answer this with? And if you're not sure, I can take a stab at
it. No, I mean, I guess that is a strong one for me.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you that deeply entrenched beliefs, that phrase right there, is something we're going to want to challenge. I want you to catch yourself thinking of it that way and try to think about it in a different way, which is nothing is deeply entrenched. We're all moment-to-moment beings. You've just been having the same moments over and over and over. So you're not actually any more deeply entrenched than anyone else. Now, me saying that is one thing. You believing it is another. But let's start with the information I just gave you, or that possible way of viewing things, and let's hear what your response is. Push back as much as you need to.
I feel like definitely things seem to accumulate over time, and like having certain thoughts or things said to you, or even without people saying them to you over time, I feel like we take those things on and now we start saying those things to ourselves. Mm-hmm. So over time, it's like, it seems to me like it's a buildup of like layer after layer after layer. And then not only that, but experiences that we have that compound or like get added to and becomes like proof that that thing was true. And ultimately, I think that like definitely buries us like deep in this entrenched thing. I think that's why you use that wording, right? Yeah. And I think so it does seem like,
well, what you're saying is potentially logical. I totally get why you're saying it, but I'm going to use something to cut right through it. If it really were true that you are so deeply entrenched in these things, how have you changed so fast in 1 week?
Huh. That's good. So, okay, I have an argument against that, I guess.
Okay, bring it.
So I feel like there's a reason like, okay, it's possible to get out of that and to get out of that mode, right? And kind of feel a different thing. But I think that ultimately it's temporary and it's not like something that's going to last for a long time unless I'm able to practice this new thing for a longer period of time. And eventually it starts to become solid and it starts to seep into a deeper sense of self. And now I can behave from that place, right? But it's going to take some time, I think. And not that I can't get into that mode again, because I feel like I can, whether it becomes my new mode of where I operate from, I think it's just going to take some time.
Okay. So first of all, it is possible that it could take some time. What I want to do, though, is fight back against doubt that makes you think it's going to take a long time.
Okay.
Because there's really no reason it would. I mean, human beings learn things very quickly. I mean, you could say, like, okay, well, how long would it take to learn a foreign language? Could that take some time? Yeah, absolutely. Now, the good news is this language you can learn even faster than a foreign language. But the fact is, we can learn things. And once we learn them, we're not so entrenched that we, like, revert to not knowing them. It's not like you learn French, let's say, and then 2 weeks later you're like, uh-oh, I reverted to not knowing French. It doesn't happen. The thing is, it's all about information. And this is what people have been missing. They haven't been talking about it this way. All we need is information. Correct, scientific, logical information. We don't need anything else. Once we do that, we change your mind, and there's no going back. And I mean that as a good thing. Mm-hmm. You couldn't possibly think in the old way if you tried. As an example, the things you learned this week, they will be with you for the rest of your life because you understand them. You can't un-understand things.
Yeah,
you know
that's very true. Like I told you earlier, going through it, I was worried and a bunch of doubt crept in because I'm like, I'm in a dysregulated state now. I'm going to forget all of the things. Yet I went through my experience this week and all of those things came back. Like this morning I had a conversation and I was using those same techniques again. And it's almost like, yeah, that does dispel this idea that it won't be my operating mode because I'm operating from all of the knowledge that I have, and these new things that I'm learning is a part of new knowledge. And
that's right.
I think that there is exercise to be done, but that's what I'm doing. Like right now, today, this morning, I exercise by using these tools.
And by the way, we just articulated another doubt. I will forget what I learned. That's a doubt right there.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, in your life, how many times have you actually forgotten what you've learned? Temporarily? Sure. Maybe. Just couldn't access it at a certain point. But once you've learned something, you've learned how to do it. We don't forget how to drive. We don't forget how to deal with somebody in a relationship or remembering what it is that they do. We remember it all. We might forget it temporarily. But if I can help you feel confident that ultimately this is all about information and information stays, you're going to be fine. Now let's get to, am I too late to make full gains? It doesn't matter when you do it. It matters when the information comes in. I understand what you're saying. I understand how you could potentially doubt, well, the length of time that I had this other stuff would determine something. It doesn't turn out to be true at all. You once you learn it, you've got it. Doesn't matter what age you are or how long you took before that. Now, I can say all these things. We're going to need to keep talking about it and bantering about it to get you to a place where you can believe it. But will it take a really long time to undo these beliefs? It's the same thing. It's all about information. And we are seeing with our own eyes that new information makes you change quickly. Now, will my environment or my family hold me back? Not once we're done in the power column, no. But that's the answer right there. You need a new way of doing things. So that doubt is informed by your old way of thinking, which is, I'll never be able to break free of this. Why would I? You know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Guess what? We're not doing the same thing over and over. We're doing something new. That's why you're going to get better.
Yeah.
Now, when I say these, again, you're going to have to mull them over and kind of think about them. Here's another one. Can I withstand the anger? Am I strong enough? By the time we're done in the power column, that anger won't be so threatening to you. So you're thinking you have to withstand a certain level of anger. That's so scary. And what I'm telling you is, nope, we're going to transform this so that that anger won't even be that scary. That's why you'll be able to withstand it. Does that make sense? I know I'm going to have to explain the power column of it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's, you're losing me with that, but it sounds great.
Okay. Well, listen, that's power column work, but let me say a little something about it just to set the table for next time. You know, in my own family, I felt that to do things my own way, differently from them, that they'd be so mad at me. And in some ways, maybe they even are. I don't know. But once I felt really integrated with myself and that I knew it was the right thing to do, whether they liked it or not, suddenly their anger didn't threaten my sense of self anymore. I didn't like it, but it didn't feel like it could penetrate nearly as deeply. And that was why it wasn't as scary anymore. I don't know if I got it better that time. Did that make more sense?
Yeah, that makes more sense. It's just, I think having not experienced that and just looking at it from far away, and, you know, I've experienced it this way, it's still really scary, right? So it's kind of like, okay, absolutely. I know that once I get there, it'll feel different. And I see how that is because I've experienced those things before. I've experienced like, okay, when I go stand over there, it looks different from over there. I can see a different angle. Exactly. So I see that it will be different. I can't feel that just yet.
And here's another thing. You don't have to do it alone. I'm the one who's going to help you do that. That's what the system is for. That's why I'm useful. So we're on a very good path. We do have to stop for today, but we've articulated a lot of doubts. We've seen that your doubt column was already getting better, that it's a particularly strong column of yours anyway. You're very able to see logically and think these things through. Now we're getting to level 3 doubt primarily, and we're going to use the power column to absolutely hammer it. And that's going to be next time and the following time, because next time I'll help to outline what's happening in your power column, and we may get to some of what to do about it. And then in the 4th session, it'll be really about action steps. What to do. So very exciting. You're doing great work, and I'm proud of you, and we'll keep it up.
Thank you so much, Dan. I really appreciate this.
It's my pleasure. Every consultation I do is essentially an assessment of the different columns, and it was really interesting talking to Misa here today because what we found is he's gotten rid of a lot of his level 1 doubt. Even his level 2 doubt isn't really there that much, and what this is all telling me is we are headed towards the power column. Level 3 doubt has its solutions in the power column. So we were already starting to flow into the power column section of the consultation, and I look forward to seeing how that goes. But it's great to see his doubts getting reduced because I know that's going to allow us to work much more effectively. If you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below, and we'll get back to you personally.